Good Easter Sunday morning to you, Roger at Wuthering Heights. This utility outlook is valid the rest of Sunday through Saturday, April the 11th. We have a lot of cold air again off to the north of us, warmer air off to the south. We got what we call the baroclinic zone. The clashes of two different air masses will continue with little shortwave troughs feeding in, and each one of these will wiggle back and forth, and it's going to make for an endless supply of nuisance snow showers and flurries. A little bit of a warm up later in the week, but we still have a lot of cold air across parts of Greenland, northern portions of Canada. This has been the case. North America continues to be the cold anomaly, even versus northeastern Asia, Siberia. And temperature anomalies this morning, you can see northern portions of Canada slipping in right into the vicinity of Vermont. And again, this is the battle of the air masses. Nothing of any great major shots of any major storm showing up right now. A little bit more off to the south of us, and really the precipitable water this morning illustrates how dry it is off to the northward. It is fairly cold. A little bit of a moisture leak northward. For area utilities, a little concern this week is the winter just continues to try to hang on with numerous bouts of snow showers and flurries. Expect good project weather to develop, it looks like, during the day on Thursday. Gusty southeast gradient wind potential for Friday, and the return flow coming behind that area of higher pressure. And that continued sort of overlap of winter and spring may return again as you get into late portions of Friday into next weekend with a rain-snow mix and lowered confidence at this point. In fact, modeling has been pretty bad as you get past around 6-7 days. So we have a little shortwave trough that's been working on through the region, and it's relatively potent, producing some scattered snow showers and squalls. Some of the squalls have dropped as much as a couple inches, maybe a little bit more than that. About 1.4 inches being recorded in my location in Worcester, mostly high elevations, and a little bit of a gusty wind behind it as well. Wind gusts look like they stay below 35 to 40 miles per hour, but still quite gusty and blowing some of the snow off the trees. So drier areas and training into the region, we should have actual improvement. We do have another weather system here that's going to be bringing in another batch of snow that looks like it's going to be affecting portions of southern Vermont. That'll happen, it looks like, late in the day and toward this evening. But this little shortwave trough that's associated, the lifting mechanism, is going to slide by pretty quickly. Some of this eventually is going to get into our neck of the woods on Monday. Let's look at the latest computer weather modeling. So there's that little shortwave trough moving off to the north of us, right in the vicinity of north of the Canadian border, enough to bring us some shots of snow showers and flurries. And then we have this other system that moves in, it looks like during the overnight period, late today overnight, and it continues to rise north during the day on Monday. That's going to bring us another shot of snow showers and flurries. And it's just a continuation as we're kind of in the battle zone between the cold air mass to the north and the warmer, more moist air mass to the south. By the time we get into what looks like a Wednesday afternoon, one more potent shortwave moves on by, a little weather system there, disturbance, and then high pressure finally ridges down enough to give us a guard and influence our weather for good project weather day on Thursday. That system then departs. We get a return southeasterly flow, and that could bring us some gradient winds and some channeling effects, especially for the Champlain Valley. Hereafter, models really come apart. Not very consistent right now. Here's an example of how we know this. This is just 12 hours ago by the European model, very consistent. But watch what happens in day 7. You see a huge difference beginning to happen. Again, this is a model that's 12 hours apart, very consistent, very high skills. But you can see it's just all over the place in 12 hours. So really past day 7, it's kind of a joke at this point. Quick look at snowfall here as it progresses northward. We're not talking about very much, but enough to cause some issues and some travel issues. Nothing, no real worries for utilities. We're going to probably have a net gain for the first 3 days of this week before we actually lose the snow. This will be mostly in the intermediate hills and higher terrain. And we have one last weather system moving in, it looks like, on Thursday night, Friday morning. That moves on out. Again, very low confidence. And then temperatures finally begin to warm up a little bit as a pattern change is going to be in the process, in the making, as we head toward the 13th, 14th, 15th of the month. Okay, looking at the 850 millibar flow, this flow and temperature really, you can see that these northwesterly flow kind of advances, and we're kind of on the dividing line between snow and rain. This line here from the sort of lighter sort of shades of blue versus the purple darker colors, that's the 0 degree isotherm right here. And we warm up, cool down, warm up, cool down. Another system works into the Great Lakes. This is day 7, so a little bit of a shakier forecast, but just looking at that one more time, you can see that cold Arctic air off to the north of us kind of bleeds into Vermont and basically the Northeast United States. We just can't seem to get rid of it. Now we do have a little bit of a better prognostication and, well, potentially some real spring weather as we get in again past around the 13th, 14th of the month. Oh, so basically the current conditions, this is showing all of North America. The anomalous cold temperatures here, you can see anything in the purples and blues and greens being below normal. This is normal here at 0. And then the lighter colors of the warmer colors of the browns and the reds and shades there, you can see accordingly. So we have cold air off to the north of us, no doubt about that. Warm air sneaks in. We're on that sort of cusp between the battle lines there. Colder air basically along about Wednesday evening. And then that departs. So we finally see a little bit of a change here starting to happen along the eastern seaboard. You can see those warmer colors, but then here it cools down again. That's over this next weekend. And this is what I would like to show you. This is a major warm-up. This is significant, and eventually it's going to land and hang out along the eastern seaboard, while the western areas, the Pacific Ocean, Gulf of Alaska, finally cool down. This is a reverse weather pattern change, a very significant one. Been watching this consistently now, and you can see that we're well above normal in temperature here. This is the 14th of April, 15th, and so forth. And we stay in that mode until the European model ensemble begins to just kind of go toward neutral. And that's typically what the model is going to do anyway. But you can still see some colder air from time to time as we get in toward the last part of April here. Tries to make it into eastern Canada. Not quite Vermont, but all bets are off on exactly how that's going to behave. But nevertheless, I think we are into full spring at this point in time. We do cool off during the first week of May back to near normal. By that time, near normal, hey, temperatures basically climbing in the 50s and 60s. Quick look at the European model temperature schematic centered on Montpelier. Pretty cold start here, but we do kind of try to warm up a little bit, kind of a mix of below and above normal. Actually, it's below normal, but temperatures do get above the freezing mark for a change. And looks like our next warmest day is going to be happening on Thursday. And we have a weather system moving in. These bars indicate precipitation, and it does look like potentially some snowfall being indicated as well. Wouldn't worry too much about these numbers here. These are usually overdone considerably. As you get into the period beyond Sunday, well, we start to see the march upward, and that's when I'm thinking things are going to turn the corner into real spring. Different model, the GFS Ensemble, shows similar conditions with that warm-up. They want to warm us up on Saturday. I think it's going to happen a little bit faster than that based on the European model, but you get the idea. The trends are looking good, but that's going to happen after a pretty cold week this week. CFS model, the version 2 climate forecast system. You see how cold it is. We're generally below that gray line. Those are the ups and downs, the max mins, and so forth each day. You can see roughly about the 13th, 14th, the GFS Ensemble is on top of it, much like the European, consistently now showing a nice warm-up. We're talking about high temperatures basically shooting up in the low 60s, 50s and low 60s once we get into this position. I think this is probably going to be close to the end of sugaring, if not the end. So sugarers, I think you're seeing the end of your work at this point in time, as we'll probably at some point here be going to bud in some of our maples anyway. And the overall temperature behavior, this is anomalous temperatures for the next 5 days. You can see the most warmth off to our south and west. And we're looking at that cool down, especially across portions of Canada. What about 3 days later? Well, it turns like this. We get near normal as we get a little bit further along, and those weighted temperatures starting to show some signs of improvement. for those of us waiting for spring, and I think that's the large majority of folks at this point. 7-day snowfall for the state of Vermont. This is as of yesterday morning, 3 inches in my location, 4 up in the Standard Mountain Range, and so forth. Spine of the Green Mountains have been hit, and they've had as much as 7 inches atop Mount Mansfield. Snow depth still pretty amazing. We're talking about 87 inches at the stake, but some of the lower elevations seen here are 7 inches, 28 inches up in the Standard Mountains, and so forth. This areas around the Northeast Kingdom still look like winter. As we get into April, especially as you get into mid to late April, with a southwesterly flow, occasionally we'll see some thunderstorm activity move into the region, and sometimes some fairly strong gusty winds associated with those thunderstorms. Nothing to worry about at this point, but any kind of a southwesterly flow later on in the week, potentially toward this weekend, we might be seeing something. But it's going to take a longer setup, and of course, we'll have to have temperatures and dew points and the right conditions to maintain that. Otherwise, you just get embedded, weakening thunderstorms, typically that just move in as rain showers. That's it from here. This is Blitzer telling you, looking at live lightning. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.